Cliff Schecter is with us. He is the National Progressive PR Strategist with Libertas LLC, nationally syndicated columnist for Jazeera English, and author of the book The Real McCain. LibertasLLC.com, of course, the website. Cliff, welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much, Tom. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm watching Mitt Romney dangle in the wind, and it's really quite remarkable. And now he's, I remember back, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever the last, before this one, presidential cycle was around, and Romney was running, and these people there was a flipper. There was a guy dressed up in a
Right.
who was walking around the CPAC conference that I was broadcasting from, and they were passing out flippers, Mitt flippers.
Right.
And here he is on Senate Bill 5. Tell us about this.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't be shocking. I mean, I think it's not smart politics for him. He should take a look at what's going on in Ohio here. But I mean, of course, he's supporting Senate Bill 5, and you have a ton of corporate money flooding in here right now. That to defend Senate Bill 5 polls. I mean, I don't want people to become overconfident, but polls are showing, the PPP poll showed repealing this anti-collective bargaining bill. It has a 20-point lead, repeal versus keeping it. You've seen, Bill Cunningham, you may know who he is, Tom, is the kind of the right-wing Rush Limbaugh of Cincinnati, came out against Senate Bill 5 and said it should be repealed because firefighters and police actually do good work. I know that's shocking to know that. It's lost. It lost a guy that Alec is behind this. We've talked about before. The American Legislative Exchange Council has pouring in all sorts of money just like they did to defend Kasich. And one of their guys, they gave an award at one point for being one of their stars, Bill Seitz, who's a state senator here. He voted against it. I mean, you have to really understand how extreme this bill is, and the fact that people you'd expect to be supporting it aren't. So Romney, that's where he chooses to line up. And hopefully if people come out and vote and the revolution is real, which I think people really are out there now getting excited about this thing's going to go down, but not to get overconfident, of course.
Yeah. So do you think that as a political observer and consultant, do you think that whether this goes down or not, whether this is won or not, there's that old saying, a week is an eternity in politics, and there's a lot of variations on it, but basically, we're talking about an election that's going to be almost a year before the presidential elections. This election on whether or not to take down Senate Bill 5. That's
right.
That's like next month, isn't it?
Yeah. The election is coming up on November 8th. I mean, we're
it's a couple
right
weeks
there.
away, right?
It's a shame. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, regardless of Romney's position, isn't this something that will just be a distant part of the noise in the distant past when election day comes in 2012?
Yeah, no, I think it will be for Romney. I mean, I just think it's again, the guy's got no core, and every time he does something else, changes a previous position. I think he was much more pro-union when he was governor of Massachusetts. It once again just shows that he has no soul, and I think that's something in the longer term that's going to be a problem for him. In terms of the bill here, I think it's important in and of itself because this is a chance, just kind of like the recalling of the two state senators was in Wisconsin,
right.
A chance for people to show they aren't going to take this. The middle class is not willing to be squeezed out of existence.
Let's quickly explain what Senate Bill 5 is.
So basically, it's a similar bill to
right.
the one in Wisconsin. It removes collective bargaining rights, from public employees.
From state employees.
I'm sorry?
From state employees.
Yes, from state employees, but it went further than Wisconsin because Wisconsin did include members of the police force as well as firefighters, which they decide here that John Kasich famously called a policeman who pulled him over when he was speeding an idiot. So he kind of was great at showing the disrespect these guys have for firefighters and police officers, and they've become a big part of this coalition to defeat this thing. It needed about 200,000 or a little less signatures. It got 1.3 million to get it on the ballot. We've talked about that before. And, I can tell you from being on the ground, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, I haven't seen people this fired up since the 2008 election. So that doesn't guarantee anything. And again, I don't want anybody getting overconfident. People need to turn out and they need to vote. But right now, it's looking like this could be a huge defeat for Kasich. And again, what these groups like ALEC get is what happens on the state level, particularly in big, important states. is often a model. The anti-tax revolt in California ended up going national.
Right.
What begins in the state often gets out there. Now, we can reject what Kasich did by a big margin here in Ohio and say, no, you're not going to continue to attack unions. Not only does it weaken Kasich here, but I think it also sends a national message that the corporations can't just run roughshod over us with the people just lying down and taking it, much like the Occupy Wall Street movement has shown and others. And so I think this is part of that, maybe the opposite side of that same coin, what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. In the minute we have left, you talk about unreasonable. The main television ad paid for by the RGA's Make Ohio Great, Governor Kasich appears in casual dress and talks about reasonable reform. What's going on with this?
Well, they realized, first of all, they overstepped in terms of Kasich. He actually tried to come back to the bargaining table with unions, and they said get lost once he'd already gone after them.
Right.
In terms of the RGA, you make Ohio great. The Alliance for the American Future, which I think is Mary Cheney.
What is the RGA?
Oh, Republican Governors Association.
Okay.
And they spent a ton of money on Kasich. He was their guy. Rupert Murdoch gave them $1 million. The Koch brothers gave them $1 million each to spend on Kasich. And so, he's been one of their big guys from the beginning. But right now, you've got all these different groups. As I said, the group run by Mary Cheney. You've got Americans for Prosperity. Everybody knows Koch-funded group that's going around doing town halls all over the state. A lot of advertising money coming in. A lot of it's being laundered through the RGA, so people don't know where it's coming from. It's
right.
The usual suspects from ALEC. But the polls say we're going to win. We're going to knock this thing down by 20 points. Again, I have to keep saying over and over again, don't get overconfident. Go out and vote. But we're in a place to stop these guys.
There you go. And from your lips to God's ears. Cliff Schecter, LibertasLLC.com.